Good morning. My name is Sylvia Green, and I'm with Friendship Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Today we're going to read the story of Ferdinand. You may know him as Ferdinand the Bull. Pay attention to the color of the title of the book. Ferdinand was a fierce bull who might have had some unexpected outcomes. Have you ever heard the term seeing red? Oh, I'm so angry that I see red. Well, we get that phrase from bulls who live in Spain and are used for bullfighting. If you're not familiar with it, we'll learn just a bit about it this morning. Okay? So, once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day long and smell the flowers. Look how content Ferdinand looks sitting under the tree. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. Look at that. And as the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look at how they kept track of his height on the trees as he grew over the years. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very strong and fierce and pick them. Well, Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. Can you tell what kind of an insect that is? We're going to find out in just a minute. Ferdinand did not look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt. Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. And what a day it was. Flags were flying, Bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the bandoleros, these men with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadors, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the bandoleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. And in case you don't know, the matador is the guy who actually fights the bull, and he has a red cape on to instigate the bull. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. What do you suppose he did? When he got into the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled because he was so content. And the bandoleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is still sitting there under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end.